was an outburst in the courtroom this morning as closing arguments were being heard in the triple murder trial of a member of the Hells Angel motorcycle club.
Yeah, I'll see you all in hell, too. You remember that. Every week, I'll see you in hell.
The Hells Angels are known for their tough image and rebellious attitude. Well, the leader of the Rhode Island chapter, Joseph Lancia, certainly lived up to that reputation. Joseph Lancia. He recently started serving a 5-year sentence in state prison. The charges against him stem from 2 separate incidents. The first happened in 2019 when he fired a gun at a truck driver outside a Hells Angels clubhouse in Providence. The second incident occurred in 2020 during a fight at a strip club. In January 2022, Joseph Lancia pleaded no contest to multiple felony charges. These included assault with a dangerous weapon, possession of a pistol without a license, and assault for the purpose of causing unconsciousness. The court sentenced him to 15 years in total. He has to serve 5 years in the adult correctional institutions. The remaining 10 years of his sentence are suspended, and he will be on probation. The court also issued a no-contact order between Lancia and his victims. Also, Lancia must pay $3,650 in restitution. Attorney General Peter Naranjo and Colonel James Manny of the Rhode Island State Police made a joint statement about the case. Naranjo highlighted that the case showed the commitment of law enforcement to target violent crime. He said that Lancia's conviction was a significant step in making Rhode Island safer. Manny praised the investigative efforts of the state police and the Attorney General's office. He emphasized that Lancia's reckless behavior had put many people in danger. The 2019 shooting incident was particularly shocking. On the morning of June 12, 2019, Lancia fired a .25 caliber handgun at a truck driver. This happened near the Hells Angels clubhouse at the intersection of Wendell Street and Messer Street. The victim was a former prospect for membership in the Hells Angels. He was involved in an ongoing dispute with Lancia. After the shooting, the victim drove away while Lancia went back inside the clubhouse. Another member of the Hells Angels later arrived and removed a digital video recorder that had captured the shooting. This person was also arrested for concealing a crime. During the investigation, the Rhode Island State Police executed a warrant at the clubhouse. They seized evidence, including 3 handguns and various types of ammunition. They also recovered the bullet that Lancia had fired at the truck. This thorough investigation played a crucial role in securing Lancia's conviction. The 2020 incident added to Lancia's troubles. On the night of February 29, 2020, he got into a fight at a Providence strip club. Lancia punched a man, causing him to lose consciousness. The Providence Police Department arrested him on the spot. Adam Lee Hall. In 2011, a grim incident shocked Berkshire County. 3 men, David Glasser, Edward Frampton, and Robert Chadwell, were brutally murdered. Their bodies were discovered mutilated and buried in a ditch in rural Beckett. Adam Lee Hall, a high-ranking member of the local Hells Angels chapter, was convicted for these heinous crimes in 2014. Along with his accomplices, David Shalue and Caius Veovis, Hall received life sentences without the possibility of parole. The Supreme Judicial Court recently reviewed Hall's case. While upholding the murder convictions, the court made a significant ruling regarding a previous kidnapping charge. Hall was initially found guilty of kidnapping one of the victims a year before the murders. However, the court determined that this conviction was based on a flawed theory. Consequently, Hall's kidnapping conviction was overturned. This decision means Hall will now serve 4 consecutive life sentences instead of 5. Hall's case had been marred by numerous legal disputes and appeals. Among these were allegations of prosecutorial misconduct by then Berkshire District Attorney David Capeless. Hall's defense argued that Capeless and his office had engaged in misconduct, hoping to secure a new trial. Despite these claims, the Supreme Judicial Court found no merit in Hall's arguments. The court's 47-page ruling detailed and rejected each of Hall's claims, affirming the integrity of the original trial process. Hall's journey through the legal system has been lengthy and complex. The initial trial in 2014 was a major event in Berkshire County. drawing significant media attention. The gruesome details of the murders and the involvement of the Hells Angels added to the case's notoriety. The victims were last seen alive on August 27, 2011. 13 days later, authorities found their dismembered bodies. The brutality of the crime and the subsequent trial highlighted the dangerous activities associated with the Hells Angels in the area. David Chalu and Caius Veiovis, Hall's accomplices, also received life sentences. Their involvement in the murders was equally condemned, and their sentences underscored the severity of their crimes. The community was left reeling from the horror of the events and the realization of such violent criminal activity occurring in their midst. In the years following the trial, there have been ongoing discussions about the influence of motorcycle gangs like the Hells Angels. The case of Adam Lee Hall serves as a stark reminder of the potential for violence within these groups. Stephen Sanders. Stephen Sanders was once the leader of the San Diego chapter of the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club. He is now facing 25 years in state prison. The district attorney, Bonnie Dumanis, announced the sentence. Sanders was convicted of several serious crimes. These crimes include kidnapping, assault with force, robbery, and solicitation of murder. He admitted to kidnapping 2 people for the benefit of a criminal street gang. The DA's office has prosecuted many cases involving Sanders. In July 2012, he was convicted of robbery and assault. In March 2012, he was convicted for solicitation to commit murder. Prosecutors say he tried to have witnesses and investigators killed. This was in connection with a pending kidnapping and torture case against him. In April, he pleaded guilty to charges of assault with a deadly weapon. This was linked to a violent attack on partygoers in Pacific Beach. In June, Sanders pleaded guilty to felony kidnapping. He committed crimes for the benefit of a criminal street gang. During his sentencing, Sanders spoke to the court. He said he felt pressured to enter a guilty plea. He faced a lengthy sentence if convicted at trial. Despite this, he maintains he never admitted the Hells Angels were a criminal street gang. Sanders' attorney also tried to withdraw his guilty plea. The attorney claimed there was new witness testimony. The sentencing judge denied the motion. The DA's office and the Drug Enforcement Administration worked together on Sanders' case. Dumanis said Sanders' sentencing was an important victory for law enforcement. She stated that Sanders engaged in a series of violent crimes against the citizens of San Diego. During his prosecution in a kidnapping and mayhem case, he conspired to murder key parts of the case against him. The DA's office dismantled his plans to have witnesses and law enforcement officers killed. They held him accountable for his actions. He has shown a degree of acceptance, understanding that his actions have led him to this point. On the other hand, he continues to assert his innocence regarding some aspects of the charges. This duality showed the internal conflict of a man who once believed himself untouchable. The trial of Caius Veiovis is something you cannot easily forget. Known for his devil-like appearance, he stands accused of a gruesome crime. Caius Veiovis. This case, involving the murder and dismemberment of 3 men, has drawn national attention. It is not just the nature of the crime, but also Veiovis' dramatic appearance that has people talking. In 2011, 3 men disappeared in Pittsfield, Massachusetts. Their names were David Glasser, Edward Frampton, and Robert Chadwell. They vanished just weeks before Glasser was supposed to testify against Adam Hall in a different trial. Hall was allegedly involved with the Hells Angels biker gang. Frampton and Chadwell were thought to be murdered along with Glasser because they had seen Glasser's abduction. 10 days later, their dismembered bodies were found, sending shockwaves through the community. Veiovis, along with 2 others named Hall and Chalu, faced charges for these horrific murders. The prosecution's case hinged on the testimony of a Home Depot employee. This employee identified Veiovis based on his unique appearance. According to the witness, Veiovis visited the store intending to buy saws. However, he ended up purchasing a Starfold wrench set instead. Prosecutors argued that Veiovis had planned to use these tools to dismember the victims. The trial revealed more about Veiovis' background. Born Roy Gutfinski Jr., he legally changed his name while serving time in a Maine prison in 2008. The name Veiovis, or Vejovis, comes from an ancient Roman god. This god was believed to avert plagues through the annual sacrifice of goats. Veyovis' transformation did not stop at his name. He underwent several body modifications, including surgically installed horns on his forehead, ears reshaped to appear more pointed, and a tattoo of the number 66666 on his forehead. These features contributed to his infamous devil-like appearance. In the courtroom, the atmosphere was tense. The trial had been moved to Springfield, Massachusetts, due to concerns about media publicity in Berkshire County. Lawyers worried that the intense media coverage could prevent a fair jury from being selected. Veyovis's co-defendants, Hall and Shalhoub, had already been convicted earlier in the year. They were found guilty on 3 counts of murder, kidnapping, and witness intimidation. Both were sentenced to 3 consecutive life terms. The key witness in Veyovis's trial was a man named David Casey. Casey, who was 65 years old at the time, was not charged with murder. Instead, he faced charges as an accessory after the fact to murder, kidnapping, and intimidation. As the trial continued, the courtroom saw a parade of witnesses and evidence. The prosecution painted a picture of cold-blooded murder and meticulous planning. Veyovis, Hall, and Shalhoub allegedly kidnapped the 3 victims from Frampton's home on August 28, 2011. They then shot them and, in a brutal act of violence, dismembered their bodies. But now, if you think that was crazy, then you probably haven't met this guy on your right-hand side.